I hope you can hear me well. I'm using my mobile data, and I'm also speaking quite quietly because I don't really want to destroy the ambience of the people here at this cafe. But yeah, I've been reading the Seven Deadly Chess Sins. I'm still on chapter one on thinking, and there was a really interesting kind of discussion in the book. So I wanted to discuss it a bit further. So yeah, basically, there's chapter one. I'm up to this point of the trappings of an analogy and the next subchapter called confusion. And basically, what the book is saying is that it's very easy to play a move in a position based on something you've heard of before. So this game between like Spielman and Rowson, Rowson basically played this move c5, which was just a really ugly, terrible move. But it was basically due to this earlier game that he'd read in a magazine between Hodgson and Tivakov, where the move c5 was actually praised, but it was just a completely different. Well, it wasn't completely different. It was kind of similar, but it was ultimately different enough, and therefore, the move was just bad in his game. So basically, he was saying like, I really liked how he wrote it here. So he said like, so be careful with ideas that you like, because you may use them inappropriately, right? And this is actually something that Dragon spoke to me about, because he said like, when I play chess, I'm always trying to logically justify my moves, or, play based on like reason and understanding, and like, oh, I should be doing this because of that. But he was basically just saying like, don't always like try and give a reason, just play concretely, like see exactly what the position requires and just play based on that. He gave a really nice example here. I'll read this out. So he says, Richard James gave an amusing and highly instructive example of this phenomenon, which begins with a young player blaming him for a defeat. You made me lose. And for the record, as a coach, I've also had these words said to me. Basically said, when he showed the game, it became clear what the root of the accusation was. Previous week, the club lesson had been about a tactical theme in games, beginning with this. So let me play it on the board. So the game had gone e4, well, this was the lesson, right? e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. And I've actually used this in the past as bishop c5 in the two knights. And the point is, you can just take on e5, knight takes in d4, and you get this nice fork, and you win back the piece, and you have a decent position. Don't win material, it's just decent, right? But in the game, basically, rather than play knight c3, the student had played bishop c4, and after bishop c5, he tried to play knight takes e5, but the problem is knight takes, and after d4, then you just lose the bishop. So yeah, the kid was like, you made me lose because of this. And yeah, it's clear that, the idea itself is worth knowing, but you need to use it with caution, right? You can't just use it in the wrong instance. And yeah, he then basically goes on to talk more about this kind of topic and about like confusion in chess. And he gives a really interesting point that, this is the same point as before, right? So chess skill becomes less of a matter of applying universal general rules, which basically everyone can learn, and more of a matter of the correct appraisal of the specifics of a given position. And I think he also said like later, I think like chess skill is about like knowing when to violate the principles. So that's very interesting as well. And what else was he saying about confusion? Yeah, I really like this quote as well, actually. Confusion is caused by the non-existence of a concrete answer to the questions of the position. So the point being is that, you're trying to justify or like, how to play the position, and you don't see an answer. But there might be an answer. It's just like there isn't a verbal answer. Like there isn't a logical answer, but there's still an answer. And actually, I found this absolutely wild, like Rowson's recommendation here. He says, if a move strikes you as correct, it needn't require an explanation. Which to me, like, I guess like in the past, I've been like more of a kind of intuitive kind of player. And yeah, it's surprising that, like, I mean, like in my recent years as a chess player, I found that my intuition is normally garbage, and I should just be always trying to justify my moves and play very logically, and that seems to do me better. And I think it might actually be true, right? Like, I think although I enjoy playing on intuition, and then sometimes I have to play on intuition, right? When I've got low time, I feel like often my intuition can just be wrong. I remember this from a young age, actually. That I think it was actually Malcolm Payne. I ended up playing his son, Jonathan Payne, in like a British under-12 or something. And when we were analyzing the game, Malcolm Payne came over, and I had played this like Knight Sacrifice, which was just complete rubbish. But he gave me like some weird backhanded compliments, saying like, oh, like I'm, yeah, I've got like kind of creative intuition, but like, what did he say exactly? I can't remember what he said exactly, but it was something slightly backhanded. Like it was like basically interesting intuition, but not like concrete enough, or something like that. I don't remember. But yeah, it got me thinking actually that one point that I thought about, which wasn't mentioned in this in this in this book, was that actually like I reckon that there are certain positions where you can follow the rules and guidelines in chess more than other positions. So, for instance, one clear-cut example of this is, let's say, like pawn endgames versus rook endgames. I feel like rook endgames you can get by with a lot of like rook endgame principles, right? If you follow these principles, you can actually play a very decent rook endgame. But pawn endgames, on the other hand, it's kind of more concrete. Like if you just play like intuitively on these thoughts, it's not gonna go well at all. You need to really, really be specific. Okay, it's good to know all of these different rules and guidelines, but it needs to be applied concretely to the position. So what I'm really saying is that there are certain positions that are more concrete and certain positions that you kind of play a bit more on guidelines. So I just wrote here in the book, perhaps to get around this whole topic, if you're a player that is good at applying rules, perhaps you should aim to play positions where the rules are more likely to apply. So I think this is like how I would go about my chess, because basically my intuition isn't reliable enough for me. I don't know how to go about strengthening my intuition. Like it's been so long since I've thought about trying to do that. Like I'm just trying to just play simple, correct chess. So yeah, that's and when I think about my chess now, like the kind of positions I get, like I'm playing like a lot of like very strategical positions, like minority attacks, right, and Carlsberg structures, where there's so much literature on it, and it's so kind of basic almost of a pawn structure that you really can play a lot of it on guidelines. Of course, there'll be moments where you need to be concrete, but like for instance, my recent Simmel game, like I got that minority attack against the GM, and I was completely holding my own until I decided to sack a rook for no reason. Hello, Safsara, I love you too. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so basically, when I think about my openings, I'm also playing lines that are much more strategical, and where you can apply the guidelines and rules, right? So I think like it's probably worth taking some time to think about, what kind of traits you have as a player and what are your strengths, right? And then finding ways to play towards that, which is basically what I've been saying every single video from the dawn of time. Like it's Chess for Tigers 101, right? Like playing towards your strengths. But yeah, this is just a whole interesting topic which I haven't read about before or thought about really. And then Ralston says here, like, skill is marked not by the application of such precepts, but by the correct assessment of their competing claims or by knowing when to violate them. So basically, that is true, right? Like, when you evaluate, it's like, okay, are these double pawns weak, or is it actually giving me an open file that's good? Like, that double pawns are weak, that open files are good, but it's like the balance, right? So it's like being able to make use of these rules in a way that is actually helping you find the best moves, not just applying the rules, right? So yeah, really, really interesting. Oh, and how's the tournament going, Sapsara? You said you failed to advertise. Okay, no problem. Uzbek players are tough, so yeah, that's rough, but good luck. What do I think of the UK election? I don't think anything about it. Like I barely followed it. I mean, it was obvious that Labour were going to win, and it would be a landslide victory. So what was the point? So yeah, it is what it is. And I mean, in general, that's a good thing, right? I mean, for me personally, like I feel like Labour probably are changing the government more to what suits me. But I mean, I mean, Conservative and Labour in reality they're just pretty similar, to be honest. But yeah, how can you find your strengths? It's not easy. That's a very good question. I mean, I think finding your strengths comes with a lot of critical analysis of yourself, like reflection of yourself, and that will only come through time and experience. Like, I think for me, it took, I mean, in the pandemic, I spent a year trying to play attacking, aggressive chess because this was the chess I wanted to play and I loved and I found very aesthetic. And then it was only like after a year of like really difficult results, despite getting to my peak of 2000 FIDE. I don't think it was because of the style. I think it was just because I was training so hard, and that's why I got to that peak. But it was completely my wrong style. Like if I trained that hard in like a style of chess that would suit me, then I probably would have reached like at least 100 points higher or something. So I think it's just trial and error really. And I think you've just got to start trying, because if you just settle on one style right now and you never change, you don't know if a different style is better for you or not. And I think like when you're quite young, that's the time that you need to be experimenting and find out like, yeah, what style are you? And I'd say even at my age of 25, I think now I'm already getting to the point of understanding my style a lot better. But I know players, like for instance, there's a guy, I don't know him personally, but he's called like, what's his name? I forgot his name. It's a guy who's 2100 in English chess, like Matthew something. I don't know. Anyway, some 2100 in the UK, and he has played for French defense for the last 15 years. And when I see his chess, I know that French isn't correct for him. But because that's the only opening he's ever played since a child, he's not willing to change. He's like too far in, if you get what I mean. And for me as well, when I switched from playing the French, I was like 5 years in to playing the French, and 5 years in, 5 years is a long time, right? But ultimately, you've got to switch around until you find like the style of play that suits you. So that's why I'd say, yeah, the great question, Yahid. The Uzbek guy offered me a draw, and I declined to push for the win. Yeah, these decisions are always very tough. I mean, I don't know if there's a good rule of thumb, and as Jonathan Rowson is saying, right, we shouldn't apply rules of thumb here. But I don't know. I can respect the pushing for the win. I mean, it depends what mood you're in, really. I mean, when I played that Birmingham Rapid Play recently, I was like so set on just trying to win every game and not take a draw. Like, and it sometimes works, right? Like one of my games where I was like lost every single time my opponent offered me a draw, and he offered me a draw 3 times. I managed to win despite being completely lost. It's not Matthew Harborn. What's his name? The problem is there's Matthew Wadsworth, and Wadsworth keeps overriding my head, so I can't think of anything else. It's not Matthew Wadsworth, obviously. Yeah, I can't remember. Doesn't matter. What's my rating, Eli? My rating is 2000 in person and 2500 online, which is about right, I would say. Like nowadays, ratings are so deflated, right? But yeah, we'll see. I mean, basically training every day, Chessable course coming out in a week. 5 days actually, so that's gonna be sick. But yeah, hope you guys found this mini stream fun. Yeah, it's not gonna be the 43 minutes. I mean, like I've probably annoyed enough people around me now. But yeah, I guess I'll see you tomorrow, and I don't know what I'll just stream for another coffee shop or something. I don't really know. But yeah, gonna watch the match today. Yeah, I crossed 2000 FIDE standard. Yeah, but hopefully we'll get there again. I mean, we're at 1976, so I think that's good potential. But yeah, hope you are excited for C3 Venom. I certainly am, and I'm definitely going to need to put in some work to try and do the best I can to market it as well in these coming days. But yeah, thank you for joining, and thank you for all the comments, and I will see you tomorrow, I guess. Okay, bye.